Okay, what's up, guys? We're gonna start with the patch, and after that, we're gonna watch or we're gonna play some video game. So first, let me turn on the recording, and then we'll do a little song and dance about the patch. If you have any input, feel free to leave it in the chat. I might respond to it. Okay, let's give it a go. What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's Riquiz, and we're gonna be looking at the TI 2023 patch. It's 7.34D. And this patch is not a very big one. It only adjusts some things a little bit. It just tweaks here and there to make us ready for the big one of the year, the international. Let's dive right into it. So the item changes reflect a couple things. First off, Blade Mail Heart was apparently a little good because we saw it in the mid and the offlane, which if both mid and offlane did it, it was like impossible to play the game for burst type heroes, which I thought was pretty cool, but so they nerfed it a little bit. They made Heart of Tarask slightly more expensive, like 100 gold, and they took 2 damage away from Blade Mail, which is a 10% nerf, and it's a really early game item, so it's pretty significant. But I don't think you won't stop buying Blade Mail because of that. The damage is just a nice to have. If you buy it on Kunkka, or like I like buying it on CK, or you can buy it on Wraith King or Dawnbreaker, or any of those heroes that use their right click damage. It's just so nice. And Blade Mail on its own is just a crazy good item in some situations. It's kind of like Blade Mail, where when you pop it, they just kind of don't want to go on you, or they can't go on you as much. Where BKB obviously stops people from casting spells on you if they're paying attention. And Blade Mail kind of does the same thing in certain situations. So it's a pretty cool early game item. I loved that it got buffed a little because I usually didn't buy it as much on offlane heroes. But now I definitely consider buying it on offlane heroes that like to make use of it, and especially offlane heroes that just throw themselves in there. I like buying it on Vengeful Spirit. When you swap yourself in, you have a bunch of damage reduction, but Blade Mail damage goes before damage reduction, so they still take full damage while you don't. And it's also good on Dawn because you're kind of a sitting duck once you fly in after your ultimate. It's kind of nice on like Wraith King as well, etc., etc. Like I can see it being okay on Earthshaker as well, but I don't think that's ever really good because he doesn't have something innate that throws him in there. You need a Blink Dagger for that. Then they made Yules a little cheaper, so just like I said, all these changes are slight changes. There's no big whoa. Like a couple heroes, like Pugna, spoiler, are kind of interestingly good, where you're like, oh, we might see more of that hero. But most of them are just small adjustments. So Yules is slightly cheaper. I think that's a good thing. Usually you just think to yourself, well, I could be buying a 4-staff or a Glimmer as a support, or as a core, I could be buying more expensive items that also give me mana, etc. I think Yule's still a nice niche item that gives you move speed and mana, so that's pretty nice. And especially heroes that don't have a stun, or if you're against Legion / Ursa, it's a good item still, and this just makes it slightly cheaper. And then Hand of Midas, attack speed decrease. I think that's probably bigger than, I think it's more than a 10% nerf. And you see this in the inventory of most cores for a long time. So missing that 5 attack speed over a pretty long period of time probably sucks. But it's a small tweak. Neutral items, a cold bracelet got nerfed again. It was so good before, and now it's probably okay now. I think it's still good, like 5% magic resist for all attributes and some mana regen. Like, as an offlaner, I'm like, I just still want that item. Tumbler's Toy gives less mana bonus. It still gives you the Vault ability, though, so, like, it's still good. You still pick it when you want to pick it. And this is pretty big, actually. Ninja Gear nerf. So the cooldown went from 45 to 60, so that's a pretty sizable nerf. I think, like, what, 33%? And the smoke doesn't stick if you remove the item from your inventory. So it's not like an auto include for every hero anymore, because especially if you thought the game was going to tier 5s or you had a really good tier 3 item, you could just keep it in your backpack, pop the smoke, and then swap it out again. It was kind of unfair-ish. If you got it and the opponent got it and you didn't get it in your picks, then they had a free smoke for the rest of the game and you didn't. So just kind of, since there was no way to guarantee that you would have a Ninja Gear and your opponent could have just like 4 on their team, it's just kind of insane. Can't really count smokes anymore if that's even a thing. So I think this is nice. It's still a good item. It still gives stats. It's still good on like Slark, PA, etc., etc. But it's just not as insane. Like, it's good on Enigma, etc. But it's not like the I see it, I pick it here type of item. Now you might actually consider some other items as well. So that's the first big one is Ninja Gear. Like, it's still a good item, but at least you have to commit to it a little more, which it's mostly nerfed after tier 4. Like, when tier 5s come out, you can't have smoke plus a tier 5, or you can't have a smoke plus still a good tier 3 item, even though 20 agi is pretty good usually, 20 movement speed. Now, moving on to the hero changes, we have Abaddon getting a bunch of support buffs, so he gets more base int and int gain, which is just more mana pool and more mana regen, and his apothic shield is better, so it's support Abaddon. Maybe playable, I don't know. Haven't seen a lot of Abaddon at all ever since 7.33. He seemed playable with Manta and Radiance, and then he just kind of fell off again. So maybe support Abaddon. I don't think we're going to see a lot of core Abaddon. Then we have Anti-Mage. Actually gets 1 base armor and Mana Void cost decrease. So it's just 2 buffs. The base armor is really nice for the laning stage, which he's already pretty good, I feel like, in the laning stage. And then Mana Void is just a nice to have. I mean, usually he has Battle Fury, and if you're threat swapping plus Battle Fury, you usually just have mana, because the only thing you're doing is blinking around and hitting stuff. But it's a nice to have. You're more immune to like Pango hitting you with a bunch of diffusal hits, and suddenly you can't Mana Void anybody anymore. So it's just nice to have. I think Anti-Mage is still kind of in a fine-ish spot. If for some reason Medusa and Storm are relatively popular, then we'll definitely see him pop up, of course. But I can even see him pop up outside of those enemies being on the opponent's team. Then we see Arc Warden, which gets a nice quality of life change to Tempest. And also, the Spark Wraith now does 40% more damage to non-hero units. I'm pretty sure this is good, because, well, it's obviously a buff, but you use Spark Wraith to secure range creep, I'm pretty sure. So now it's just easier to do. Maybe you have to get like one less point in Spark Wraith, which I don't know if that's good because you don't get magnetic field anyways. So, I mean, it's just a buff, right? It's probably good against summons and shit. I don't know if this makes Arc Warden super playable. Probably, because I think we saw her in the last TI finals when 9 played her. Or him, I don't know what Arc Warden's gender is, I don't want to assume. I think Arc Warden is perfectly viable if it's a good Arc game. Beastmaster gets nerfed. So, 1 base armor decrease, and he's not a strength hero anymore. He used to be a strength hero. So his agi gain is low regardless, so he doesn't have a lot of base armor. I don't know, actually. Does he have? I mean, it's still big for the laning stage. And this Hawk also gets nerfed, which these Hawks in the laning stage were looking pretty strong. So these are some Beastmaster nerfs just before TI. I think he'll probably still be played, but there was this moment in this year where Beastmaster Rubik was like blind picked every game before they changed the draft picks order. So I don't think we're gonna see stuff like that. I think we're not gonna see a first phase Beastmaster. But he's still good. He still has his single target BKB piercing stun, which is just always good, like especially with PA running around. Then Bounty Hunter gets a base attack time decrease, which is pretty nice, so that just makes his attack animation better. I don't think he's gonna be core. Like, we're not gonna see him 3 because he sucks at an offlane. But we did see 9 play him a bit middle, but since 9 is playing 4 this TI, I don't know if other people are gonna take up the mantle of playing Bounty Hunter mid before, like, couple weeks before TI, right? I don't think that's going to happen. And then same goes for position 1. I just think it's maybe after TI it becomes more popular, but I don't think it will be that popular during TI. Then we have Brewmaster gets nerfed quite a bit. The multiplier from Brewed Up has been decreased from 3 to 2. So before this it was also nerfed in 7.34b, as you can see, where Fire Stance critical damage was already lowered, so now it's kind of double nerfed, and oh my god, did this Brewmaster do damage to your face. If he just jumped on you, he would just, with AC, he would just start critting your face, and it hurt a lot, because he's a universal hero. And then Primal Split, the Aghanim Shard Cancel, now reappears according to the regular Brewling priority, which means you can't pick anymore where Brewmaster spawns, which means it is not possible anymore to use the Earth Panda, which is the first one in the regular priority order, to siege towers, because the Earth Panda does the most damage to towers. So it's still a little bit because you could hit the tower for a little bit and then run away with it, but they could actually catch you. So there's some risk involved, whereas usually, like before this, you would run away with the, what is it, Air Panda, Water Panda, Storm Panda, and you would just respawn on the invisible, super fast Blue Panda. Now we have CK. This is a nice buff. So the creep damage multiplier has been increased from 1.6 to 1.9. So he almost does twice as much crit damage to creeps with his crits than he does to heroes. So this makes his laning stage insane. I feel like most CKs just kind of go 1-1-3, where they get 3 points in Chaos Strike, because then they guarantee that they can sustain the lane and bully others out, because they just do a lot of damage and they gain a lot of lifesteal. And now I've been playing him in the offlane, so I'm gonna try and take only 1 point and then go 2-2-1 with a Soul Ring. And then I can just hit the wave if I need health, because I'm gonna get double healing from that, which is still 30% lifesteal on that crit, and then doubled, so 60, which is pretty good. You can just farm the nearby creep camp as well. And then I can use that Soul Ring to consistently have mana and just all in the opponent a couple times with my QW combo. So I'm gonna try that. I think this is pretty good. Like, this just makes him more consistent, and he can maybe participate a bit earlier if he's position 1 Chaos Knight. And he's also just going to be full HP always when he's jungling. So that also makes him a little bit more consistent, which this is just very nice quality of life. Then we have Crystal Maiden. The Crystal Clone does no longer interrupt her ultimate, which is nice. It's kind of funny to see her move around during her ult a little bit. Like, it's still not a shard you'll buy, but if you get it from the Tormentor, it can be pretty nice. Like, now you have to be cognizant of which way you're facing when you start ulting. Usually you just won't. You just start ulting when you need to, and then you'll just assess the situation, like, is my Crystal Clone worth using here, yes or no? Or do I have to cancel ult and then face another direction or some shit? Then we have Dark Willow. Bramble Mace, small nerf because the Bedlam change made her very playable, and Bramble is just super good. Then we have Dawnbreaker, whom has an intelligence gain decrease, so she just has a lower mana pool now. She's already pretty rough on the mana, so this is a pretty hefty nerf. And also Starbreaker cooldown reduction decrease. So we started with 2 charges of Starbreaker. I think it was on the shard. I'm not sure. And then it was on the 25 talent that you got 2 charges, which felt really fun and good. And then it became this minus 6 seconds cooldown, which I think it's like a 10-second cooldown spell, or 11. And now it's to minus 5, which, I don't know, how I used to play Dawnbreaker, if you've seen my guide from a couple patches ago, it's just different now. She's still fine, but definitely not the monster that would do two BKB Starbreakers on your face with the old BKB. Like, those days are gone. So, I don't know, I haven't been having a lot of success with Dawnbreaker in pubs lately, so I don't know. This is just nerfs. I think we'll probably still see her in TI because she just changes the game so much. Because suddenly she can be in the fight at any moment. Like, you catch somebody and there's a support behind them, and suddenly Dawnbreaker's ulting in, and you just wasted half your spells on a hero that's getting healed, and this Dawnbreaker's jumping on your face and bashing your head in with a hammer. So it's just, she's always going to be like a game changer type hero. Or yeah, the global presence is just crazy. So she's always going to be good in that sense. And we have Death the Prophet. I don't know what just happened. Death the Prophet just got buffed, actually. Level 15 Crypt Talent cooldown reduction from 2 to 2.5, which is hard to take because the 300 health is just amazing. But I think this makes her Q go from like 5-second cooldown to 2.5, which is... You can spam that Q all of a sudden. That's pretty sick. Like, maybe you can go Bloodstone with that. I don't know how many you get off. Probably 2? 2, maybe a third? If you Bloodstone Q... I think you can get a third now. That's pretty sick. So it's not like a huge buff, but it's nice to just spam Crypt Swarm a little bit more. Drow Ranger Gust, pretty big buff, I would say. If Chrysalis was playing at TI, RIP, this would be nice. So Drow Ranger gets Gust. She gets bonus move speed when she uses Gust. So at max level, she'll have a speed boost, movement speed boost of 16% for 6 seconds. So if she has a Yasha item, which she might have, or a Force Staff item, which she might have, she just gusts and then she gets the F out of there. So she's way less of a sitting duck, I feel like, if you can't lock her down. If she gets her gust off, like, she gone. Gone with the wind. Then we have Earth Spirit, small nerf. Like, he's still going to get played a lot. He's just slightly less burst. Earthshaker, his 25 talent was nerfed. Like, that's annoying for him, but most of his impact is done before he's level 25, so we're still going to see him mid a lot. And because of that, we're also going to see him offlane because it's so nice to have him flexible. And we're also going to see him 4 and maybe even 5 in a random game. But Earthshaker's is a really good pick at TI. Surprise. Enigma. This is pretty cool. I don't know if teams are going to pick up on this in time, but the downtime of demonic summoning is going to be 0 seconds. So the duration is 40 seconds, and at level 1 it's 40-second cooldown. One thing I did notice is the Eidolon damage. Look at that. Eidolon damage goes from 20 to 8, which is plus 8, to 38, which is plus 10, to 47, which is plus 9. Like, it just... What? It doesn't seem to make sense that Eidolons just get so much more damage from going from level 2 to 3, and then from 3 to 4, they're like, nah, fuck it. I don't know. But they do get more range, etc., so... I don't know where this puts Enigma. Probably pretty decent if you're good with Enigma. But, like, they changed Enigma so much by... Like, it's not demonic conversion anymore, so you don't delete a creep from every wave, which used to be Enigma's clutch factor, and basically just warped the entire lane around that. And now she's just a summoning hero with a lot of summons, so that is good. I can see it being good. Like, a 33 can probably play it, right? But I don't know if we're gonna see it like 4, like the major that OG won last year with Taiga Enigma. I don't know. I think I can only see it as a 3 now, because although maybe the Eidolons level 1 as a support are just so good that it's kind of like it's just so overtuned that you get its support and then it's an Enigma, so it's always good late game. So maybe we'll see some Enigma at TI. Grimstroke gets a small nerf to a Inkswell movement buff talent thing, which we were seeing a little bit of Grimstroke pop up, and I'm glad they didn't nerf him super hard, because Grimstroke is pretty cool, and we haven't seen a lot of Grimstroke for a while. Hey, Pip. My cat wants attention. So this is a big one. Pip. We have Gyrocopter, whose flak cannon attack interval has been increased from 1.2 to 1.3 seconds. So that means that instead of every 1.2 seconds, it is now every 1.3 seconds that the side gunner from Aghanim Scepter attacks. That kind of nerfs Gyro specifically because Gyro could activate Satanic, get stunned, and then the side gunner would still attack, and that would heal him enough so that he would stay alive. And then as soon as he's not stunned, he just attacks everything everywhere, so then he heals to full as well. So it just made him a little bit too survivable. I don't know if this nerfs him too much, like the normal build right now. Oh, hello, babe. Jesus. The normal build right now is to go Chrysalis into Ags. So I wonder if that's still going to be the build, or if this is just too... If the gunner is suddenly shit, you know? I don't know. I don't play Gyro. Probably fine, but it's definitely a hit. Then we have Hoodwink, Scurry, well, mostly a buff, except for the first point, which means it's not a 1-point wonder, and I feel like you only want 1 point in it. So I think it's a Hoodwink nerf in that way, where you kind of need to get an extra Scurry early if you want to do the same stuff, so you have to be a little tighter, but it's definitely a buff later in the game. Huskar straight up buff. I, of course, don't like Huskar because I get cheesed by him in my pubs. But I think it's cool to have a Huskar threat in the meta, especially at TI. So yeah, I hope that we're gonna see like 1 or 2 cheeky Huskar picks in the bracket, you know? Like, they picked a blind Earthshaker and you last minute flexed it to the mid lane, like you last picked an offlaner instead of a mid laner because you kind of think you're fine, and then boom, Huskar baby, and it's like, oh shit, this Huskar is gonna pop off. How are they gonna deal with it? I don't know, I kind of like it, having the Huskar element in the draft. We have Invoker nerfs. They halved his base health regen, so you need to use Quas a bit more for that. Cold Snap freeze heal decreased. I didn't even know that Cold Snap healed until this patch. I don't know how long it has healed, but I have... For the last 10 plus years, I did not know that this was a thing, if it was a thing for that long. And then EMP got nerfed. That's pretty big, I feel like, because EMP spam has been pretty big. I've been seeing 5 and 4 Invoker just run up to your lane, EMP the guy, and walk away. And then every so often they run back into your lane and EMP the opponents again. So, some Invoker nerfs just before TI. It's still Invoker, so good Invoker game. Still gonna play it. Kunkka gets nerfed on the Torrent. We've been seeing Kunkka offlane, which I love. I like climbed up from, what's the thing called? Legend? Before Legend? Archon? I climbed up from Archon into High Legend with offlane Kunkka, just spamming offlane Kunkka with the old armlet that didn't drain all of his health all at once. And it's just a fun hero offlane, although not super strong, but still very fun. And we've been seeing him just get the Blade Mail because he benefits a lot from the attack and the armor, and then just go into Aghanims and Shard before that. Just Shard at 15. The displacement is sick on that. So that's probably still good, but this Torrent AoE was super good on the Aghanim Scepter, so now you can maybe not get hit by the Aghanims as much. Then Legion Commander gets nerfed a little bit on her 20 talent, which I'm pretty sure you did take that. So, I don't know. Legion still seems fine. Buffs for our boy Lich. I think Lich is still good. You can see him in a couple lanes. Like, some Lich lanes are just very rough with the right safe laner, and of course his Sinister Gaze just destroys summons still. So he has a place in the meta for sure. Lifestealer gets buffed, which is nice because he's good against Sven-type heroes, even though, spoiler, Sven kind of got fucked. So if it's a good Lifestealer game, we're going to see it. Maybe we're going to see another Pango at 1 HP survive because of this Lifestealer. Then we have Luna, gets further Moonglaive buffs. I kind of feel like if you buy Manta on her, the Ghost Push on this chick is going to be so insane. Like, it already was pretty good, but now she's just gonna be slightly more good at just chipping down your towers with that Manta. And the Shard is pretty cool as well. It just gives you more damage reduction, which is kind of insane, honestly. 25 damage reduction on Shard. Like, and then you also have this talent cooldown reduction. I kind of hate this because we're 100% going to see a bunch of Luna 4s in my games. And Luna 4 is ungodly useless until he has his Ags. And usually you've already lost before the Luna has her Ags. So I hope that doesn't happen, but it probably will. Magnus, Shockwave, pretty much a buff, which is nice for Magnus. Marcy, Sidekick no longer castable on illusions. I thought it was pretty cool that illusions could fake out the fact that they have Sidekick so they look more like a real hero. But on the other side, it's really, really lame if you see an illusion with Sidekick kill your tier 3. That shit is not cool. And I've been saying it a long time, and I'll say it again. Illusions are broken. Conceptually so. Meepo buffs, just all-around buffs. We're probably not going to see Meepo at TI, but maybe. I hope there's that one Meepo game, and it's going to be like Pog Meepo. Nature's Prophet kind of got gutted. It's minus 40 starting health and strength, or minus 2 starting strength, and Sprout cooldown at level 1 is plus 3 seconds. So that's 25% nerf. Like, that's pretty big. The early Sprout plays with Nature's Prophet are just fewer and further between. I think he's still okay, but he needs a lot more finesse. And he was already kind of gutted before when he was really good as a 3 with the Aghanims build. Nature's Prophet is in a rough spot, but he still has a global teleport. So that's pretty much always good. They have Ogre Magi, which I think is 100% a Bloodlust bot again, and a pretty good one at that, because 75 attack speed is sick. And with the 100 attack speed, he can farm his own items. I don't know if you've ever been Solar Crested plus Bloodlusted, but it feels really good. As a core, like if you get Bloodlust plus Solar Crest from your Ogre, and you're like a CK, you just fucking you just destroy people. It's so good on like strength heroes that have low attack speed. It's so good. And it's also pretty good on illusions as well. You can multicast it on illusions and just send them at a tower. It's good. I think Ogre Magi is a good support. Pangolier gets a fuck ton of nerfs, both on Swash mana, Shield Crash mana, damage on Shield Crash and on Swashbuckle. But his value is mostly in getting a defusal and just making the opponents cry for the first 20 minutes for just them not having any mana, not being able to fight him. And then after that, he's still useful because of Rolling Thunder with an Octarine. So Pango's still good, but maybe you can't first pick him anymore because he's been nerfed a lot lately. Phantom Assassin, she had been running around rampant and she did get nerfed a little bit here. So the Vanish Radius, which is the radius you need to enter into to dispel the blur and actually see her, went from 400 to 500. That's a lot of extra surface area that you can now see her, basically. Like the circle got a little bigger, which means there's a lot more area. That's how math works, I guess. So that's nice. It felt like you were looking for a needle in a haystack when you were looking for that Phantom Assassin. They changed the Aghanim Scepter cooldown rescale, so she doesn't like one-shot you and reset all of her cooldowns and just one-shot somebody else. And then her coup de grace got nerfed a little bit. Went from 20 to 17 and 40 to 34 on Stifling Dagger. It's still pretty good. You can just dagger around until you get the buff and then you go on somebody. It's pretty good. So by no means do I think she's dead. I think she's still good. Primal Beast, the straight up nerf, but he's still good because he just gets a Blade Mail and a heart and he's pretty unkillable and he just runs on top of you. Then we have one of the big winners of the patch. It's Pugna. Look at this, 50 to 65%. So that's like a 30% buff on building damage from Netherblast. So, hallelujah, this fucking destroys buildings. This is a really nice tech unit that can now be like, we don't have push at all. But we can play 4 Pugna, and then you just yoink in the Pugna. You can even have a tops and mid Pugna, right? And Decrep also got buffed. Like, the cast range just got buffed, and the move slow got buffed. Like, this is just, like, the Decrep Netherblast combo is just better now. They also increased the Netherblast range like a patch ago. So Pugna's poggin. Pugna is really good. Like, if you like playing Pugna, you can go destroy some towers right now, like, even faster. And then Ricky, smokescreen radius has been increased, so maybe we'll see for Ricky a little bit, but I don't think so. Like, I don't think he's good right now. But maybe as a 4. Like, that's a pretty big smokescreen. Sand King got nerfed to shit like 2 sub-patches ago. I think it was 7.34 B, where they just screwed him over. And now they reduced the cooldown of Burrow Strike by 1 second. So, Sand King still dead. Shadow Demon, Demonic Cleanse duration God, and Purge, both durations have been decreased. This hero was pretty popular. He's good as a save, he's good against illusion heroes, and his Cleanse and Purge are just insane against heroes that, well, can't deal with it, basically. Like, it was very good against PA, very good against Necro, very good against Ursa, because I think it would purge his stacks. Or Enrage, yeah, like the Empower stacks, that's it. So, it's probably still good. 7 to 6. I think it's still good. Slardar gets a small buff on Slithering Crush. I guess the puddle duration is now 100% uptime. That's nice. Slark 25 talent got nerfed a little bit. I mean, there's good talent. It's still pretty good. Like, Slark's still pretty good. I like this Spectre change. Shadow Step cooldown, especially on level 1, got lowered by 20 seconds. So Spectre can participate a little bit more. I love that. I love that Spectre can now participate a little bit more because she is kind of a boring hero in a sense. Like, when I see a Spectre, I'm kind of like, okay, she's not going to be useful for the next 25 minutes until she has like 3 items, and then maybe she'll participate. Spiritbreaker Greater Bash got buffed, so he does more damage with movement speed as damage. We haven't been seeing a lot of Spiritbreaker core anymore, but he's still good as a 4. So, I don't know. I think we will see him in some games, and he's pretty decent. And then, like I said, Sven, 4 base damage, so that kind of sucks in lane. And then they just gutted God Strength. The God Strength is his whole identity. I don't like this change. Like, he's just worse now. Just straight up worse. I feel like they should have nerfed the cooldown a little bit more, or the duration a little bit more, because then you still are the God Sven, and there's a little bit more counterplay. But now it's just, wow, he just hit you 3 times so you didn't die, instead of you did die. Which is kind of like, I don't know, like, PA also hits you 3 times and kills you. Why can't Sven do that? He uses an active for it. I don't know, Sven was really strong and consistent, but it didn't feel like overpowering or overbearing. It's not like a Naga meta, where, like, if Naga is the best carry, it just, what? It's just so boring to see, like, literally like waves on the beach. Just see the illusions hit your tier 3 and eventually wear you down. Like, Sven at least just fucking jumps in and kills some shit. Like, I don't know. But I don't have the numbers, so maybe God Strength was a little overtuned. Techies gets a relative buff on Blast Off, and Proximity Mines can actually hit all flying heroes now. So, quality of life, basically. Timbersaw actually gets a buff here, which is surprising after he kind of got nerfed hard, because we saw a big rise in Timbersaw at the start of the New Frontier patch, 7.33, when he was made universal and he was played mid a whole lot and like first picked for mid, you know? And now he's getting a little something. I don't know how much we're going to see him, because Tree and Protector was really good, and I think it's still pretty good. Like, the base damage doesn't matter. The base mono regen is kind of annoying, but whatever, and all these small talent nerfs. But Tree and Protector's still really good. Like, he's kind of like a... He's one of those supports that just wins the lane for you, I feel like. Like, if you have a Treant lane, it's very hard to lose that lane. They have a Vengeful, also a very popular 5 right now. Magic Missile gets nerfed, but still the same at level 4. And Wave of Terror just gets nerfed all across the board. I played her a couple times offlane. It felt really good. Buying a Yasha on her, like Bracer Yasha, feels really good on Vengeful. And Treads, and you just run around hitting people for like a bunch of damage. Together with the Wave of Terror, they just couldn't really kill you, but you were killing them. So, I don't know. I think I'll still try her, because the cooldown. It's not that big of a nerf, I feel like, but we might see her a little bit less as a 5 because she was really good before. And then we have Visage, Stoneform buff, so I don't play Visage, but all the offlaners will be happy. Warlock got a little nerf, thank God. The Warlock laning feels the same as an Undying lane or a Treant lane, where, like, if there's a Warlock, I'm so screwed. Like, every time you see him and I'm near the wave or my other support, it's just Fatal Bonds, Upheaval, or Fatal Bonds, and then the healing spell, and you're just like taking a million bajillion damage, even if you walk away. You're still taking the damage because of all the creeps dying. It's so annoying. Like, Warlock is really obnoxious to play against in the 5 position, and I think we're going to see him at TI. We see Weaver gets a bunch of buffs. I think this is going to be pretty indicative of if Weaver is good or not, because his laning phase is fixed, you know? Like, Geminate attack, extra damage, and Sakuchi, extra damage. Both of these he will spam during the laning phase. So if this tips him over the edge, then we're going to see some Weaver if it's like a good Weaver games, but I don't know if he has a place in the meta right now. As an offlaner, he's effing annoying to deal with, and he's pretty elusive, so maybe we're going to see some Weaver. The Geminate attack is pretty strong, especially with the, I think it's a 25 tunnel where you get a third Geminate attack. Like, if you have the quiver, you can just kind of one-shot somebody because you get 3 attacks going. Then we see Wind Ranger gets a power shot buff. I like this one. Like, reducing per hit decreased to only 15. It's a skill shot, so if you hit 2 people with it, I kind of feel like you should be getting rewarded. So we might be seeing her middle a bit. Seb is not there as a player, so we're not going to see her support, I think. Winter Wyvern gets buffed, actually. Spinner Blast is a little faster, and Winter's Curse just gets straight up buffs. So maybe we're going to see some Winter Wyvern 5, maybe some Winter Wyvern 2, maybe Winter Wyvern 3. I think the meta has to kind of develop into a meta where Winter Wyvern is really good or has a really strong niche. I don't see it yet, but it might be pretty decent. She's good at clearing waves, she's good at team fighting, and she's pretty good at doing single target damage after a couple items. And then we have the motherfucker himself, it's Witch Doctor. His base strength gets increased. Oh no. I hate this guy so much in the 5 position. As an offlaner, I hate it so much. And then his Death Ward cooldown gets increased, but the damage also gets buffed. What the fuck? So at level 6, it's a straight up buff because the cooldown is the same, but it's more damage. And then after that, it's still more damage, but at least it's like a higher cooldown. Like, it's a nerf in the later stages of the game, but earlier on, it's kind of like a buff, kind of a trade-off, and then it's a nerf. I hate this hero so much. I hate Witch Doctor so much right now. I just have to hope that my mid laner picks some hero that can actually jump on the Witch Doctor and kill him. Because if I already picked my hero and then they show a Witch Doctor and I can't pick a hero anymore that jumps the backline, then I just have to hope that my team fixes it, because if we have no backline jump, Witch Doctor destroys every fight. And then lastly, we have Wraith King, which I've also been playing a little bit off lane. He got a Wraith Fire Blast stun duration increase with a 0.25 second buff. That's pretty nice. I think max level is 1.6 stun. So then with this talent, you probably have a 2.6 second stun on Wraith King. That's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. Especially if you plan on taking the Reincarnation Wraith Fire Blast cast. It's pretty cool. That's kind of like a mini Rupture Ravage. It's a nice to have. I think you usually still get the skeleton damage. Because if you jump on somebody and you stun them and you summon all the skellies, you just want them to do a lot of damage. Especially because you probably have AC or a Deso to lower their armor as well, so your skellies do even more damage. Plus, with the skelly damage, you actually exert useful tower damage or tower pressure, which is kind of like, especially if you're position 1 and you're just farming in the jungle, like, it's so nice if you just walk up to a tower, spawn the skellies, and fuck off again, because somebody of the opponents has to react, and that gives your team space to make plays. So I think you're always taking the skeleton damage, but from the offlane, I might consider the stun if we have a lot of push already, or if we don't have any fucking stuns / catch, because then I can go blink plus wraithfire stun, and then, you know, you're almost a good offlaner. Seems pretty good. Okay, and that is the 7.34D patch. Bit of a discussion for you. I think not a lot changed, like small things. Couple heroes like Pugna do seem pretty good now. I think Pugna's good. Drow feels nice. Luna might be okay. Marcy is going to be a 6 support. Phantom Assassin is still viable. And that is about it. Yeah, Sven kind of sad. Very sad. But I'm looking... Yeah, Weaver... It's just it. It's just not a lot changes. It's just small changes. Let me know in the comments what you think about the patch. And if you're looking forward to TI as much as I am, what team are you rooting for? Guys, thank you for checking it out. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Okay, we did our song and dance, guys. Woohoo! We looked at the patch. I am gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and after that, we are going to be playing some video games. The camera is not over there anymore, it's over there. I have to get used to that. Cheers. I'll see you in a couple seconds. I really have to go to the bathroom. Restroom, whatever the cool kids say.